Give me the next 25 minutes and I'll install a 5-step system that forces you to get done in one day what most get done in a week. After building a $300,000 per month business and helping to scale 2 multi-7-figure online courses, I'm constantly asked how I seem to be everywhere all at once. How do I manage to squeeze 5 times as much productivity out of the same 24-hour day that you and I both get? This word productivity is simply a measuring stick of how much money you get back from the time you invested in. And after years of selling millions of dollars online, I have finally put a stupid, simple 5-step system called Batch that, when followed, will allow you to stay in this hot zone right here called your flow state, where neuroscientists have proven humans are 5 times more productive. If you're grinding, putting 12-hour days in and out, yet somehow this needle is not moving, it is likely because you're paying a hidden task switching tax that quite literally turns a 12-hour workday of workable hours into 3 actually productive ones. You're not alone. I was there too. And while I'm not some untouchable, perfect productivity expert with 0 flaws, I do want to share with you what I believe to be my secrets, if there is one. And so I'm going to show you the math, the science, a 4-part quadrant to help you optimize your day, and exactly how to implement this 5-step system. Okay, first and foremost, this curve right here represents your work day. Right here is what's called your load time. This is the activation cost, or the time required to heat your brain up. And a field study, and there's actually a study done at UC Irvine on real office workers that showed the average activation cost for any given person was 23 minutes across the board. So it takes 23 minutes before you hit any real actual output, which is this green zone called your flow state. This is where every 1 hour you're working, you get 5 hours worth of output done. This is where ideas just seem to snap together. The output multiplies. The longer you stay here, the faster you're going to just sprint past any of your competitors, smash your personal goals, and actually get stuff done. And then right here is the killer. This is what's called a task switch. A quick check, a Slack message, a text message, a call from your wife, an employee who needs some help. Heaven forbid, it's a doom scroll. It's a quick YouTube video look. There are hundreds of these. These only take 10 to 60 seconds to just really quickly, I'm gonna go look at something or do something real fast, but it has a detrimental impact on your productivity. Again, neuroscientists have found and have proven that your brain is not a multitasking machine. And when you task switch, the actual cost of what feels like a 60 seconds deviation actually comes preloaded with a 23 minutes activation cost. So you lose 24 minutes for every 60-second task switch that you take. So for the math layman, right? If you take an 8-hour day and you have on average one check, one simple, silly little check once per hour, that one check per hour is 8 switches in an 8-hour workday. You just lost 2 hours and 45 minutes of focus time, which means you only have 5 hours and 20 minutes left over. But most of you have more like 3 checks per hour in an 8-hour day. That's 24 switches in 8 hours, which is 480 minutes of lost focus time, which means you literally have 0 hours left of actually productive green flow zone time. And that, folks, is how you successfully work a 12-hour day, 16-hour day, physically at your computer, typing on a keyboard, and you end the day and you're like, what did I just get done? Pushing nothing forward in your business. That's the hidden math. Put another way, think about your brain like a cast iron grill. I love steaks. I love myself a good cast iron grill steak, but it takes a minute. It takes 8 minutes, actually, to get this cast iron grill up to a temperature that it can even cook a steak or food. But once that thing's hot, boy, do cast irons retain that heat for a long time. But you can only produce or cook when that pan is hot. If you took a bucket of ice cold water and dumped it on that frying hot pan, it takes just 3 seconds for that scorching pan to come all the way back down to room temp. The cast iron pan is your brain. It's the machine that runs your productivity. The fire is the activation cost it takes to get it up to temperature. A piping hot pan is your flow state. That's the green zone, where 1 hour of input actually equals 5 hours of output. And then being selective of which foods and meats and vegetables you choose to grill on that pan is called batching, which we'll get to in just 1 minute, which allows you to get the most amount of output and productivity per unit of time. And that big bucket of water represents task switching, the ultimate killer to your day, and why most of you get almost nothing done despite working more hours. I'd rather work 4 hours of piping hot cast iron flow time, which might equate to 16 to 20 hours of actual outputs, as opposed to working a 16 to 24 hour day, bragging to my friends about how hard I work. I'd rather brag about how smart I work and have more time to do whatever the heck I want. So now that you've seen the physics and the science and the math, let's now give you the playbook. This is a 5-step system I've developed called Batch. It is 5 rules or steps that keep your brain in that green zone, so you get 5 times more done in the same day and you stop paying an actual tax, no one likes taxes, literally every hour of the day. Starting with B, which stands for bundle. This is the engine of this entire 5-step acronym or process. This feeds into the other 4 parts of the process, so we have to master this first. Bundling is grouping similar work together. It's taking all the tasks that you can do in a given day that all require the same type of brain work, the same tools involved, the same people involved, and doing that in one time block before you move on to anything else. You finish the bundle, then you switch. There's no back and forth ever. So let's leave like theory land and let's get into actual implementation and execution land here, right? So let's take all of my given tasks for the day. As a course creator, as an infopreneur, many of you are going to have some of these same tasks here, but my day looks a lot like this. I need to record this YouTube video right now. I then want to cut from that video 5 short form clips, put that into Instagram, TikTok, etc. I've got a 3-part email sequence I need to write. It's a follow-up sequence for nurturing my leads. Very important part, the fortunes in the follow-up. Then there's a couple things on my sales page I got to redo, maybe redesign. I also have some bugs on my checkout page and I want to add an order bump to that as well. Then I got to go into my Instagram channel and clear out some DMs. I've also got a community inside of my C through 60 group I got to go manage. I've got 2 sales calls I got to hop on. And then I want to throw together some weekly metrics, some KPIs for the team and put together a plan. So you take your tasks, you dump them on a piece of paper. All of you have them. Obviously step 1 to be productive. If you don't put things on paper of what you have to get done in a day or a week, you're just a feather being blown away and swifted off into a new direction every time somebody else wants your time, your attention, and you are not in command of your day. Somebody else or some other thing externally is. That's how many of you are still working. And so step 2 on this B part of this framework is to now sort them into 4 quadrants. On the left-hand side, low difficulty tasks. On the right side, high difficulty, right? Think about energy involved. Maybe it's creative power. Maybe it's just something that's going to take a lot of time, right? Low difficulty, high difficulty. Then on the y-axis, you've got on the bottom part, low impact. And then on the top, you've got high impact. Essentially, how much value does this task drive to my business? Now, truth be told, on this topic of impact, many of you have a bias here and you think, for example, I'm going to go and tinker on my website and make this button nice and pretty and add a nice, beautiful animation to all these parts of my sales page. And that's high impact for my business. Please, there is nothing about that task that is high impact. It may feel high impact. You may think it is. It may look sexy. You might have this amazing dopamine hit, but it does not actually create impact for your business. I don't want to get emotional here. I can't tell you how many course creators just fidget and obsess and addict over aesthetic garbage. There are generally 5 drivers to value of how you actually determine the impact of any given one of your tasks. There's a way to measure it. It's not subjective to what feels good to you and what you think is impactful or valuable. 5 ways that you can determine the value of any task you do in the day. The first is, does it create cash or revenue for my business? If you've got the spectrum of 100 points to give to these 5 categories and which one carries the most amount of value, anything that drives you cash or revenue, and you can prove that it does, is 60 to 80% of what makes an impactful task. Second is anything that materially lowers expenses or founder hours. This carries 10 to 20% of the value. Third is a durable asset that you can utilize down the road, something that may not right now produce cash, but that down the road can predictably yield cash and revenue. This contains about 10 to 15% of value. Fourth is anything that reduces risk or compliance issues. That could be an operational risk. It can be a legal risk. This carries 5 to 10% of value. And then lastly is qualitative brand lift tasks. This carries 0 to 5% of value. But the caveat here is you still have to be able to tie qualitative things back to a quantifiable sales revenue metric. Otherwise, again, it's just useless. And most of you have this inversed. You're spending all this time on qualitative stuff thinking it's high impact because it feels really good and it boosts your ego because your website now looks so sexy and yet you haven't made a sale in 3 years. It's like, pick one. What do you want? You want to look sexy or do you want to be sexy? Being sexy is far better, even if you don't look sexy. Does that make sense? Okay, I digress. Back to the 4 quadrants. Low difficulty, high impact, or high value tasks are quick wins. These you want to do as soon as possible. Low difficulty, low impact tasks are fill-ins. Get them done later as you have time. High impact and high difficulty, these are your major projects. These ones you got to bundle carefully, you got to schedule them carefully. These take the most out of you. And the last, you've got high difficulty, low impact things like dorking around with your website. These are called time wasters. These you should consider deleting entirely. So this quadrant allows me to just prioritize and figure out which ones have the most precedence and the most priority so I can fit them in to the right slots on my calendar, which we'll get to in step 2 of the batch process. But once you get that done, we now move into trying to find the patterns of these tasks that you have. Again, here's my list of 8 tasks that I have in a day. My next step is to take those 8 tasks and figure out what are all the commonalities and differences of these tasks. There are 5 main categories I look at when trying to get a feel for how I should bundle these together. The first is tools. What is the main software, the device, or workspace that you need to accomplish that task? Second is the output format. What is the final deliverable thing that you're giving or creating or doing in the day? Third is the people involved, who you have to interact with to get that thing done. Is it a solo thing? Is it a group thing? Is it a one-on-one thing? Fourth is the energy level required. Okay, how much alertness, how much focus is it demanding and requiring from you, right? Low, medium, high. And then finally, you've got the hat type that this requires. So I found in my years of selling millions of dollars worth of stuff and having my businesses maturate and progress through different stages, I generally speaking, am always wearing one of 3 hats in different seasons of my business. For example, when I first launched my software business, Course Creator 360, there are 3 types of hats that you put on and you take on and off depending on your season, where you're at in business, what's most important. And those 3 hats are: number 1, the thinker hat; second, the creator hat; and third is the manager hat. These 3 hats, and when you're wearing them, all serve different purposes. They require different types of thinking styles, right? Thinkers, for example, is more direction focused. It's, I need to sit down and strategize, look high level at something. I need to choose the direction I'm going to go, turn ambiguity into clear priorities, define the problem, set the success criteria, and then say no to everything that doesn't move the needle. The thinking hat, once on, demands a lot of analytical and planning power from the brain, right? Difference than, for example, the creator hats. The creator hat is production. It is creating. It is making things, right? So this makes the work that you planned and thought about in the thinking cap real. You make high quality assets. It's website designing, it's funnel building, it's making videos. This YouTube video, I'm in creator hat right now as we speak, making an ad, making Instagram videos, copywriting, writing code. When the creator hat is on, the thinking styles it demands is creative and procedural in nature. Lastly, you've got the manager hat. This hat makes the work move around. It's coordination, right? So you're aligning people with the timelines, you're removing blockers, you're running clean handoffs, you're ensuring that things actually get done and they move forward. It's a lot of managerial, a lot of administrative tasks going on here. Really, anything involving people and processes is a managerial hat. The thinking styles required for this hats are almost always relational and coordination. And again, after selling millions of dollars worth of product online and seeing my businesses maturate and progress into different stages, I've seen that some hats need to get prioritized over others. Sometimes I have to wear a hat longer than others. For example, when I first launched this software company, Course Creator 360, the first year or so, I was really heavy wearing my creator hat and my thinker hat, thinking very high level, trying to map out this business for the next 10 years. I was making a ton of content. I was making funnels. I was making templates. I was doing a bunch of course contents. I was making the actual product, right? Then as we hit $100,000 a month, then $200,000 a month, and now $300,000 a month and beyond, I've got 20 full-time employees that I have to manage. And so I put on the manager hat. The creator hat and the thinker hat have taken a big backseat since about 2024 of January until now. And now I'm entering a brand new phase of my business where I'm recognizing, man, if I want to really reach that new level, I have to go way back to that creator hat again. Make videos like this one I'm making right now. I got to build my brand. I got to make more ads. I got to get content out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I got to write my emails. I got to make more funnels. That's the stuff that I am uniquely capable of doing as the founder and as the face of this company. And so just last month, I made one of the biggest hires I've made so far, hired a very skilled manager to hopefully just take that hat off entirely, give it to him so I can get back into this creator mindset. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? Well, when you write down your tasks, right, they're all going to have different thinking styles, different hats that are required. I put that on a table that looks like this. You've got the task, the tool, the hat type, the outputs, the energy level, and the people required. So you take something like recording this YouTube video right now. The tools required for this task is OBS, where I'm filming this video on, my camera, and my studio setup, right? Got to be here filming in front of the camera. The hat type is creator. The output is a 30-minute or so video. Energy, high. It takes a lot out of me to film these videos. It's a lot. People involved, just me, solo. And I'm gonna do that for all these 8 tasks. And as you can see, they all have different tools, different hat types, different outputs, different energy, and different people involved, which leads me to the final part of doing this bundle step effectively. The whole goal here is you put apples and apples together, you put the oranges and oranges together. You are going to take tasks that have at least 2 things in common and you bundle. That's it. This is one of the simplest, and when I said at the beginning of this video, stupid, simple things that I do, it really is stupid, simple to do this. It's not some crazy, beautiful, sexy secret, but it is extremely effective. I've had many customers who I watch their days. I kind of look at their schedule, I see what they're doing, and it is just scattered all over the place. They've got a YouTube video they're filming on Monday and Tuesday and then Thursday. They're spreading all these things out that all have similar things in common. If I'm gonna film YouTube content, I'm gonna crank it out as much as I possibly can today. Give me a 4-hour block of time. I'm gonna crank out 3 YouTube videos and just be done for the week. This has been proven by neuroscientists and people who understand the human brain. They've studied this in people. They know that we cannot physically do things that require different thinking styles, different things that we got to do, different priorities, different tools. We cannot do that effectively unless we do them all together, which leads into the second part of this 5-step process, which is to allocate. Allocating is to park each of those finished bundles into a fixed calendar block, and then you guard that block like it's a meeting that you cannot leave. There's no floating tasks. There's no, oh, I'll squeeze it in later. Oh, if I have time, I'll do something here. Or, well, if I'm feeling like I want to go dork around on my website, I can fit that in somewhere, put that in my dork around slot. No, allocating is treating treating your time like it's sacred. The most productive people I know do this. So there's this law that I love. It's called Parkinson's law. And essentially, put simply, it is that whatever you give in terms of time, right? Whatever time you allot to a task or to a thing, you will fill the entirety of that allotted time. I love using this timer here. It's a little timer. I've seen this on Instagram. People use this a lot. I used to use a chess timer when I was back in the States. I'm currently in Japan right now. I don't really think the mechanism matters. I paid like $40 for this, by the way. I'm not gonna like bash the company I bought this from. This thing's like cheap. It's plastic. I don't know, for $40, I would have thought this was like metal. I thought this was gonna be sick. Anyways, timers are awesome. It's also called the Pomodoro effect. It's a very similar concept to Parkinson's law, right? Where if you give yourself 30 minutes to get something done, right? You will push yourself to fill that 30 minutes because you've told your brain there is a deadline. I've given myself 30, not 60, not 120, but 30 minutes. I'm going to push myself to hit that deadline. Same thing applies to a college student. If you have a project that is due 30 days from now, you will take the full 30 days to get it done and you'll cram on the day before to finish it. That is Parkinson's law in practice. Even though that project only will take you 12 hours to complete, our human brains do not know how to allocate things effectively. We don't know how to manage our time. And so we just push it all off. We procrastinate. We never get it done. Timers and allocating things and putting these bundled tasks into slots on your calendar force you to essentially allocate a deadline to every single one of your bundles, right? So step one is bundling to make sure that you're grouping the similar things together that require the same brain power, the same thinking styles, the same tools, etc. So you're not jumping between stuff and having that task switch tax that you're paying. Step two is to allocate by throwing that into a calendar slots. And then step three of this 5-step process, the T stands for turn off. This is very simple. You got to shield yourself from the noise of the world. We live in the noisiest time in human history. There is so much that is demanding your attention, begging for it. And we have such low levels of discipline as humans that we will gladly take any distraction and anything that happens to pop up in front of our eyeballs or on our phones at any given time, and we take it and run with it. And every time you do that, you reset, you are paying a task switching tax that costs you 24 minutes every time you do it. And so the T of this equation is to turn off, block every single channel, digital or physical, that can shove a new thought into your head while you are inside of one of your bundles or blocks that you've already allocated for. This essentially is turning off everybody and everything. You're no longer giving them permission to commandeer your day. This includes, by the way, and this is controversial, things like your spouse, your family, your children. Now, Stockton, what do you mean? What the heck? You don't love your wife? What's the big deal? I turn off text messages from everybody, including my own wife. And I did this, by the way, 5 years ago. I'm happily married, got a wonderful 2-year-old daughter, living here in Japan. How could I do such an outrageous thing by shutting off all notifications, including from my own wife? Here's what I found. I made this switch 5 years ago. I tested it. I did not tell my wife. I was shutting off all text communication, even from her. I tried it out for about 2 weeks. She had no idea I had even done it. I'll show you why she didn't notice when I get to the 5th part of this 5-step process. But what I found is that nobody, including the most important person to me in my entire life right now, my own wife, does not need me to get back to her text messages within a certain time period. There's no urgency at all. She knows that if it is urgent, she'll call me, and I pick up every single time she calls me. That I don't have on Do Not Disturb. I don't get a ton of phone calls. And when I do, the only person I pick them up from is my wife. Now, to each their own, right? I'll get more to this in the 5th part of this process, but some less controversial, I think non-negotiable things that you have to turn off today in 2025 are things like your team chat apps, Slack, Discord, etc., text messages, browser tabs. I mean, think about this. If you've got 30 tabs open on your computer right now, be honest, but I'm just saying, like, nobody's exempt from this. When you've got 30 tabs open up, you're asking to get distracted. It's like, oh my gosh, my Facebook group, what's going on here? Alexandra, what is she saying? Oh, I've got so many emails to read. Let me just check one real quick. I bounce to YouTube. Oh, RFK, what's he up to? Let's see real quick. Oh no, we got an important question I got to get back to in the community here. Ah, that's right, the ChatGPT thing. I wanted to get back to that. I mean, this stuff is everywhere. You don't recognize the number of task switching temptations that you have. It can happen so fast. And if you don't have the discipline to turn all these things off, your emails, your social media is the most obvious one, doom scrolling, just a really quick check. I mean, you watch one Instagram reel and it's like, oh my gosh, that was so funny. Give me one more. Oh, just one more. Give it to me. Yes. Oh, and you keep going. 30 minutes later, like, what was I doing? I was filming a YouTube video. How did I get here? It's like, it was that little 10-second temptation to just check one thing. These are the biggest temptations. These are your issues. You got to flip those off. Don't even allow yourself to get tempted to switch and to context switch or task switch, because you're going to pay 24 minutes every single time you do that, sometimes more. Step number 4 of this 5-step process is to catch up. I think earlier I told you I was going to tell you in step 5 why I turned my text messages off for my wife. It was step 4 actually. It's the catch up. So catching up is once or twice a day, maybe 3 if you need it, depending on the role and responsibilities you have. You open up every place where that new stuff is coming in, right? All the intake, the Slacks, the Discords, the Gmails, the emails, the Facebooks, whatever it is that you get the information from, you clear or triage the entire lot in one fell swoop. And then you flip it right back off, and we're back into our blocks that we've bundled, we've already pre-allocated for, no exceptions. So again, going back to my wife example, I told you she's always texting me during the day. She had no idea I had shut off text messages to her phone because she texted me, I would get back to it about 3 hours later. And what do you know? For 2 weeks, these messages she sent me, none of them required my immediate attention. She was totally fine with me getting back. She knew I was working. Find yourself a spouse who respects your goals and your visions and supports them, right? She knows that. And if she actually needed me, she'd call me, I'd pick it up, no problem, right? But this catch up window, this is a designated time where you can't just be in La La Land forever. I've got teammates, I've got employees, I've got customers. There's people I have to get back to. There's communication. There is a time to intake all this new flood of stuff, but it needs to be intentional. The point here is it's intentional. You are not a victim to this and allowing anybody or anything to take control of your day, which leads us to the fifth and final part of this process, which is to heal. Again, this is scientifically proven. This isn't just some random, like, take time to love yourself and appreciate who you are. No, it really is a proven scientific thing that you have to take breaks. Your brain needs to have these resets. I don't know about you guys, but if I go on a run after 6 hours just grinding away at something, I come back after like a 20-minute run and I'm a new man. It's like I'm seeing with new eyeballs. I'm seeing in color for the first time. It's weird, but our brains are like that. But even healing, right, is a planned screen-free, ideally screen-free, micro pause that lets your body stretch, your eyes refocus, and your attention chemicals reset before that next focus block hits. I'll let your brain run wild on your favorite healing methods. Doesn't really matter. I think the most important part is that you're detaching from this environment after you've had a productive slots. Don't be like those Twitter employees before that, the Elon Musk takeover. They were doing like a day in the life of a Twitter employee. Like, first, I start my day with a 30-minute coffee break. Then I go and work for 10 minutes. Then I treat myself to a 30-minute book read. Then it's just like, when do you work? When are you actually productive doing anything? Don't misuse that healing part of this process. It is meant to be intentional, to give yourself an actual break, but only after you've worked productively. If you got 20 minutes of work in, that's not real work. That's how long it takes you just to get into the green zone to be effective and productive. So tread lightly there, be careful, don't misuse that heal process. But folks, that is the 5-step batch framework. Once everything's been applied, put together, this is what a day in the life would look like for me. Notice how I don't have 15 blocks. I've got 4. I've got 3 sometimes, but each and every single block is dedicated to one specific type of task. The 8 to 10, maybe 12 tasks you have in the day, you group them by things that have 2 or more commonalities and you put them in a block. Right now, I live in Japan. I am 15 time zones away from my team who lives in Utah. And so the first thing I wake up in Japan at 8 a.m., I have to hop on calls because the day is almost over in Utah. So for me, I have a communications block of where the first 3 hours or so of my day, I'm hopping on meetings, I'm managing some of my team, everything that involves Zoom and communication and my Discord and all the places that I'm managing and talking to people. These are all relational type tasks where I've got my manager hat on. And then the second that manager hat comes off, the rest of my day, I get to flip on my creator hats. I'm going to just sit down. I'm going to crank through YouTube content. I'm going to script out a bunch of Instagram content. I'm going to make my emails. I'm going to write that funnel. I'm going to do the VSL. I actually have done a whole separate video on this topic of how I was able to triple my business from January of 2024 over to September. Just in 9 months, I tripled my business, which was one of the main reasons I chose to move to Japan 15 time zones away, because I recognized this managerial hat was just consuming everything. I was like neglecting this creator parts, right? The YouTube videos, the Instagram, the ads, the stuff that I and only I can do that leads to massive growth in the company, a ton more leads, a ton more sales, everything across the board. It was being neglected. And so I physically picked up and said, nope, someone else is going to have to manage this for me. I'm going to force myself to be more of a creator and a thinker. So I've got more of my total workday going towards creative and thinking tasks, those caps that I'm putting on, and the least amount possible in manager. But with that, hopefully, as promised, you are leaving this with a 5-step process that is stupid simple that you can apply today, spend far more time in this 5 times more productive flow zone, and you now have the tools. You understand the system, the math, the science behind why this works. The rest is up to you to implement. Please don't take this video and just use it as theory. Take some action, bundle your tasks, allocate them together, turn off any distractions, set yourself a catch-up time window, and then finally take some micro breaks to heal. And if you apply that 5-step process, I promise you, you're going to see your results, your progress, your sales, everything across the board is going to just skyrocket because your time is everything. And if you want to get a higher ROI of actual money that comes back from the time you invested, follow the batch process. That's all, folks. Like this video, subscribe for more, and we'll see you guys later.